Hey, what's going on, YouTube family? It's Mace back with another video, back on the grind. It's been about a week since my last published video. With that being said, today we're going to be taking a look at Todd McShay's big board, the top 32. So essentially, it's kind of like a first round type of image. Now keep in mind, I've said this before, the big board is not necessarily a correlation with a mock draft. Okay, there can be people that are much higher on big boards, but they're drafted much later in the real draft and vice versa. It's all about positional value sometimes. So we want to take a look at the top 32. Of course, like I mentioned, we're on the road to 1K. I appreciate your support. Make sure you like and subscribe. But hey, this is a lot of people, 32. So without further ado, let's get to it. But at number 32, we have Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida, 21 years old. I mean, the size, the measurables, 6'4", listed at 232 pounds. Had a QB rating his junior year of 85.3, passed for over 2,000 yards, 17 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. Many of you know he's a dual threat. 654 yards on the ground, 9 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he's a heck of a player. He's going to definitely raise his stock at the combine. He's going to if he runs a 40, it's probably 4 or 5 flat or even faster. He's got the arm of a cannon. He's really good, short, intermediate, but his weaknesses are really glaring weaknesses. One of the most inaccurate quarterbacks, only 53% of his passes were completed. Really struggles reading the defense, which causes a lot of sacks. Questionable decision making. He's got a lot of work to do. I've mentioned this before with other prospects, but Anthony Richardson is the bona fide definition of boom or bust. But this man has the talent, natural raw skill set to become an all-pro type player. At number 31, we have wide receiver Zay Flowers out of Boston College, 22 years old, listed at 5'10", 172 pounds. This past season, 78 catches for 1,077 yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. He's definitely a speed guy, 4'3", mid 4'3" type of guy, dangerous in the open field. I think his size may limit his overall ceiling at the next level. Another question, can he win on the outside against NFL corners? So I don't truly think he'll ever be a wide receiver one just due to his size, but he's definitely a good player. At number 30, we have cornerback Clark Phillips III out of Utah, 5'10", 183 pounds. This season, 6 interceptions, 6 pass defenses, 24 tackles. QB rating when targeted, 73.6. I mentioned him in my last video over the cornerbacks. High agility, great change of direction. One of the best zone coverage corners in the class. Can definitely be aggressive. I'd say too aggressive at times when left in man. Next level, that could definitely be an issue. At number 29, we have Zach Harrison, defensive end out of Ohio State, listed at 6'6", 272 pounds. This past season, 3.5 sacks, 34 tackles. Long arms, has really good power in the defensive end, over 270 pounds. As I mentioned, has good athleticism, very fast for a lineman, almost 280 pounds. Now he's 6'6", and sometimes he plays like he's 6'6", which means that he's too tall a lot of times. Very hard to generate a lot of leverage. Next up at number 28, Todd McShay has guard Osiris Torrance out of Florida. Definitely a very good O-lineman. Probably will be the first guard taken in the draft. University of Florida, listed at 6'5", a mauling 347 pounds. And looking at his film, he's definitely still developing, but he has a very high ceiling for sure. He understands angles, really good at moving into second level against linebackers. Probably the best run blocker in the class. Definitely has a high stance at times, average quickness. He may struggle in the passing game, or at least initially in his NFL career. At number 27, we have Jalen Duncan, a tackle out of Maryland, listed at 6'6", 320 pounds. Really good balance, good long arms, what you want to see in an offensive tackle, especially when it comes to those elite pass rushers. Definitely needs to get stronger in the weight room. Doesn't always play his size. Doesn't move enough people. He's not the type of mauler that's going to push the pile in the run game, but overall very solid. At number 26, we have linebacker Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. One of my favorite linebackers in the class. I love his length. Listed at 6'5", 232 pounds. This past season, 1 interception, 9.5 sacks, 103 tackles. He's very bendy, twitchy, really athletic. He's lanky. He can play on the edge. Can also play in the linebacker stance. Undersized, so that may be an issue in the NFL, but I really love his versatility as that's not the only position he's played in college. Next up on the list, we have at number 25, safety Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. 6'3", 195 pounds. QBR when targeted is 80.9. I love him, 21 years old. This past season, 71 tackles, 3 forced fumbles. 6'3", so he's got the length. Very athletic, very quick. Can also help in run support. I definitely say at 195 pounds is what he's listed at. He's definitely undersized, but has all the traits that you want to see. I'd also love somebody of his caliber to force more turnovers over his career. But to me, he's the number 2 safety, hands down, in this class.
Up at number 24, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. Listed at 5'11", 200 pounds. I'm very interested to see once he weighs in at the combine. This season, 926 rushing yards, 7 scores on the ground, 44 catches for 444 yards. Probably one of the best receiving running backs out of the backfield, hands down. Maybe the most versatile overall in the class. I love his age. He's only 20 years old at this time. Definitely has the top tier speed that allows for home run hits. I think he's going to be a really good player at the next level. Hands down, the number 2 running back in this class. Like I said, the biggest thing is really seeing how big he is. Because if he's 200 or sub 200, that really may cap off his ceiling as a workhorse type running back that's going to be on the field all 3 downs and be able to touch the ball 20 times a game. At number 23, we have Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama. Listed at 6 foot, 193 pounds. QB rating when targeted, 87.7. This season, 2 interceptions, 90 tackles, and also had 2 touchdown scores. Hands down the best tackler in the draft. He's a freak athlete. It's rumored that he squats around 600 pounds. I mean, that just shows how strong and how explosive he is. He's expected to run in the low 4.4s. Very physical in the run game, as I alluded to. 90 tackles in one season as a defensive back is very impressive. I feel that he's a plug-and-play starter in day 1 NFL safety. Can be a little grabby in coverage, probably why he's not going to be a corner. Sometimes his awareness when processing the offense during the play, he does look lost at times, but I mean that could be coached at the next level for sure. At number 22, Todd McShay has Lucas Van Ness, defensive end out of Iowa, listed at 6'5", 269 pounds, 21 years old, 6.5 sacks, 36 tackles. Really like his game. I didn't really know much about him, honestly, until I looked at the big board. One thing that I saw, he has a nice spin move. He has great motor, great effort, good combo of quickness and size. I really like that. One thing, he's not the most athletic person, and for some reason, he's very prone to cut blocks. It's like the offense schematically schemed to cut block him. I don't know why. That's just something I noticed. He got cut blocked a lot. At 21, we have JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, receiver out of Ohio State. 6 foot, listed at 200 pounds. Not very much statistical numbers this year, obviously. Well noted, he barely played 2021's most dynamic wide receiving core at Ohio State that featured Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. He was the lead guy as far as statistics are concerned, targets and whatnot. Definitely was coming off of a high sophomore year, 95 catches, 1,606 yards. he was coming in. People were saying that, hey, he could be the best receiver since McShay's. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. It's dropped his stock a little bit, but I mean, honestly, I don't see why this guy couldn't be the wide receiver one in this class. But I guess we'll see. Played a lot in the slot at Ohio State. Can he play on the outside? But I'm really looking forward. At number 20, we have Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia, listed at 6'4", 310 pounds. Highly recruited, former 5-star recruit. Didn't allow a sack at left tackle. Played all over the offensive line at Georgia. I personally think he could develop into an elite left tackle at the NFL level. Has the combination of power, leg drive, finesse. Very smart. I definitely think that his technique can continue to develop. I'm just saying he's a little raw when it comes to the mechanics, but definitely he's been rising, and I think he'll continue to rise between now and the NFL draft. At number 19, we have Cam Smith Jr., DB out of South Carolina. 6 foot, 188 pounds. This season had an interception, 5 pass deflections, 27 tackles. QB rating when targeted is only 61. I love his back pedal. Keeps receivers in front of him because he's very technically sound in that for. Also good length, fluid hips, has top end speed that you want to see. He can guard the deep threats. Not the best in press man corner, but once again, I still personally don't know if that was just the scheme or just he's not very comfortable, because I didn't see very much, and the little that I did look at, it wasn't the most impressive. Number 18, we have Anton Harrison, another tackle, comes from Oklahoma, 6'5", 315 pounds. I really like Anton Harrison. Good kick slide. I think that really allows him to set up really good against the speed rush. I definitely could say he could improve his awareness. Struggled a little bit against stunts and twist, but he's definitely a good tackle. Now for 17, 16, and 15, we have a string of corners. That respectively is Keely Ringo, Christian Gonzalez, and Joey Porter. Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with any of the three. Keely Ringo's definitely lost a little stock after this year, had moments where he struggled, but I mean, some of his physical traits you just can't coach. Christian Gonzalez, one of my favorite corners in the entire class, definitely brings the length, the athleticism, the ball skills. Joey Porter Jr., I think at this moment is kind of the consensus number one corner in this class. As many of you know, he has the lineage. Joey Porter Sr., his father, played a long time in the NFL, brings a lot of character and just a high football IQ. At number 14, we have Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC. Definitely played some good football, transferred from Pitt, played with Kenny Pickett. This year playing with Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams. A lot of people's number one wide receiver. I really like to think of him like a Calvin Ridley type of player. Can play the slot, outside, short, medium, and long routes. He's definitely really good at. He can really do it all. Size is a concern. Listed at 175 pounds. I guess we'll see at the combine.
Number 13, we have probably the most polarizing guy in the entire draft. That's Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky, 6'3", 232 pounds. Dual threat, though he didn't use his legs a ton this year. A little surprising compared to last year when he had the weapons. He was a dual threat for sure. I will say that he has a very beautiful arm. When the ball leaves his hand, it's got the velocity, it's got the drive. He can fit that ball in the deep throws, middle, short, but definitely struggles at times with accuracy, decision making, doesn't process the defense as quick as you'd want to see, which has led to a lot of the sacks and the turnovers overall. But hey, I mean, GMs, scouts in the NFL, they still seem to value him as a first-round draft pick. So I mean, if he can be coached up and given the tools and the tutelage that he needs, I mean, he has all the skill sets to be a really good quarterback. Number 12, we have Quentin Johnston out of TCU. Had a really good junior year, definitely did his thing. I will say started off a little slow, but he and TCU continued to just pick up steam as the season went on. 60 catches, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. We love his size, 6'4", 215 pounds. One thing I will say about Quentin Johnston, I wanted him to be a little bit more alpha this year, especially with the receiving core that he had. I didn't really see too many threats to him, and I really wanted to see more alpha, like give me the ball type of persona. Sometimes I do feel like he faded away at moments, but hey, he's Todd McShay's #1 wide receiver, and it wouldn't surprise me if he is the #1 receiver taken in the draft this year, but he's got everything you want. He can run after the catch as well. He can run routes, high point the ball. He's very athletic, he's big, and I do want him to use his size a little bit more. Not the best blocker that you'd want to see in a receiver his size. And I mentioned his route running. I like his routes, but at TCU it was very limited. Very limited route tree, which is why a lot of Big 12 wide receivers struggle at the next level. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen to Quentin Johnston. At number 11, we have tight end Michael Mayer, 6'4", listed at 265. I'm curious to see if he's really that big, but that's what he's currently listed at. Had a really good junior year, 67 catches, 809 yards, 9 touchdowns as a tight end. Can really do it all. Ran an expansive amount of routes for Notre Dame, made an impact for Notre Dame right away. I see him being one of those tight ends that has an impact his rookie year. Tight ends generally take a few years to develop, but I think he'll be on the quicker side as far as impact on an NFL team. I think he's plenty fine with his athleticism, but a lot of scouts and GMs feel that he is limited as far as athleticism is concerned, long speed and whatnot, but he's going to be one of those tight ends that's going to be top 5, I'm sure, in 2 to 3 years. And we are now in McShay's top 10. We got Paris Johnson Jr., 6'6", listed at 310, junior, highly recruited out of high school from Cincinnati, Ohio. I love his game. He's my top tackle in this class. He's also really good in the classroom. I think he's a natural leader in the O-line room. Definitely is a competitor, fires off the snap. Good footwork. I like his game. Has the versatility, but I was going to say that his experience at tackle isn't the greatest. He's played all over the offensive line during his career at Ohio State, so he may need a little bit more experience at the left tackle position more specifically, but still, I think he's one of those tackles that's going to be a solidified starter for 10 to 13 years for sure. Number 9, we have Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. I mean, what can I say? Highly touted out of high school, the #1 running back in his class, lived up to expectation. You knew by his freshman year at Texas, you knew this man was going to be great. Over 1,500 yards, almost 1,600 rushing yards this year in a split backfield. Texas has a good running back core at their university. 18 touchdowns, over 6 yards a carry, man. Only 258 touches on the ground. So, like I said, he split the backfield. If he had the full workload, I mean, he probably would have got 2,000 yards easy. Can catch out of the backfield, can really do it all. There's really very limited weaknesses with Bijan Robinson. I could say just continue developing blitz pickup. That's very important if you want to be a 3-down workhorse at the next level. But definitely, if this was 15 years ago, we're talking about a top 3 pick for sure. Number 8, we have Brian Breesy, defensive tackle out of Clemson. 6'5", 305 is what he's listed at. Definitely another highly touted recruit, 5-star guy. I heard about this guy when he was a sophomore. I mean, he was dominating the varsity level as a sophomore at 15 years old. But he has amazing physical attributes. I saw a video his senior year, he benched 405 in high school. But he has power, agility. For his size, it's rare. He has a motor as well. Definitely can fit in any defensive scheme. I personally feel you can put him at the 3, at the 5. I think he's most ideal for a 3-4, but I think he'd be just fine in a 4-down lineman setup as well. But as I mentioned, 3.5 sacks, only 9 solo tackles this year. A lot of that was the injuries. So he has a lot of injury concerns, and I will say that a lot of his physical attributes that will be showcased if he performs at the NFL Combine, I'll say that it didn't always show up on the field. And that's why I feel that he will be a better NFL player than he was a collegiate player. But I mean, he has pretty much every skill set you want to see in a defensive lineman, particularly an interior defensive lineman. And at number 6, McShay's number 1 offensive tackle is Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, 6'4", 315 pounds, highly recruited, which honestly, we're talking about the top 10 of a big board. There's a high chance that a lot of these guys are going to be highly touted high school prospects a few years back. But one of the best pass blockers, maybe the best pass blocker in the offensive line class. Has a lot of accolades, an excellent resume, very athletic, high football intelligence. You can tell he loves the game, studies the game. A lot of GMs do fear because of his lack of wingspan. So, of course, at the NFL level, that is going to be a concern if he's playing on the edge. You can't get your hands on some of these elite pass rushers. Hopefully that's not too much of a concern, or maybe he can put some of that to rest at the Combine. Also doesn't play with the most brute strength that you may want to see at your tackle spot. A little inconsistent with his landing marks, which plays into the wingspan issues. But I do think that he has a chance to be the best left tackle. Paris Johnson is my favorite, but I mean, Peter Skoronski's pretty much the consensus number 1 tackle for a lot of the quote-unquote gurus out here for a reason. And at number 5, we have Tyree Wilson, defensive end out of Texas Tech. I love his size, 6'6", 275 pounds. I think he has an NFL-ready body, NFL strength already just looking at the film. 7 sacks, forced fumble, 61 tackles, so he's got the production. He has the wingspan that you want to see. He's very quick, he's got agility, he's fluid. I will say that he needs to work on his overall repertoire of moves, just increase his package, which of course that can be coached at the next level. But he's somebody that's definitely creeped up boards as the last few months have came upon. And he's forced me to even look at about 4 to 5 games of his film. And definitely this guy, I think, will be an impact player right away as a rookie. Definitely a defensive rookie of the year candidate. Number 4, we have CJ Stroud, QB out of Ohio State, one of my favorite prospects in the entire class. After IU, I am an Ohio State fan, so I pretty much watched every single game from CJ Stroud live. 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, over 3,600 yards, almost 3,700 yards. Second in the nation in QBR, almost 89. I mean, he can make every throw, very accurate, very cerebral, has the personality as well that can lead an NFL franchise and rally the group. Whether things are going well, things are going bad, I mean, people just naturally flock to him. And he's very confident. He also has solid speed, though doesn't use his legs very much. Plays like a traditional pocket passer. He likes to kill you with his arm. Now, I definitely do feel that he could use his legs, but he already has the possession of an NFL arm. I think that his stock rose tremendously against that Georgia defense. Even the internet trolls that didn't really think that he was all that good, I think a lot of them, if they were objective, got silenced. He showed leadership, he showed poise, and he just showed overall skill. Didn't have his number 1 receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba all season. No excuses, and he still balled out. But like I said, create much outside of the pocket, and in this era, a lot of the elite guys, they use their legs when they need to. But, I mean, to me, he's like a Justin Herbert. He can run. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in this class for sure. Number 3, we have the number 1 defensive tackle and the number 2 defensive player in the entire class on McShay's big board. That's Jalen Carter, 6'3", 300 pounds, coming off of the national championship. Obviously one of the best players on the field. This season had 3 sacks, 32 tackles, 2 fumbles forced. when he has the drive and he wants to get rid of the O-lineman, I mean, he pretty much does it. Not as consistent, just looking at the film more in depth. He doesn't get off of blocks or shed blocks as often as I was expecting on the tape. But when he wants to make that play, I mean, there was no offensive lineman in the nation that could actually guard him one-on-one. Quickness, agility, he's over 300 pounds and he moves amazing, I'd say. Laterally, change of direction, he's got power, he does finesse moves, has a pretty solid package, can play 1 tech, 2, 3, and 5. Projected to possibly be the #1 pick for a reason at the defensive tackle, which you just don't see in today's NFL anymore. But like I said, sometimes he gets stuck on blocks, doesn't play with the leverage and pad level that he needs to consistently do if he wants to make a lot of plays in the NFL. And at number 2, we have the #1 defensive player on the big board, and that is Will Anderson Jr., the edge rusher out of Bama, 6'4", listed at 243 pounds. I mentioned before in previous videos, 2021 was one of the most dominating statistical performances I had seen in a very long time. Had over 100 tackles, around 18 sacks last year in 2021. Felt that he should have won the Heisman in just my opinion. This year still did his thing, 51 tackles, 10 sacks, also had a pick 6. Yeah, I mean, the guy's the real deal. Definitely in contention to be the #1 pick. He's got range, he's got speed, he's got versatility, agility, everything really you want to see in a guy that's going to be a top 5 for sure pick in the NFL draft. I would say that you do want to see him more one-on-one beating tackles, but on the film I'd seen that enough as well. A lot of his plays made, you could say, were based on defensive schemes, stunts, and twists and whatnot, but I've seen him beat a right tackle like he stole something plenty of times over his junior and senior year, or I should say sophomore and junior year, excuse me. So that's not an issue for me. I expect big things from Will Anderson Jr. in the NFL level. And #1, his teammate, quarterback out of Bama, that's Bryce Young. So the #1 player is Bryce Young. What can I say? 2021 Heisman Trophy winner. This year didn't have the talent around him, especially on the outside. Didn't really matter much. He still made plays all over the field, still statistically had an excellent year. Bama was still really good this year. #1 pick. That's really all I can say. He's going to be the #1 pick, whether the Bears put a package together and get rid of Fields, or a team like the Colts, which I'm a Colts fan, I'm hoping we trade up at #4 to #1 and select Bryce Young. But Bryce Young will be the #1 pick regardless. Leadership, has the arm. The only knock on him is the size. Is he 5'10", 180 pounds? Is he really 6 foot, 194 pounds, around where he's listed at now? That's the only thing really you can take against him, honestly. He makes every throw very accurate. Deep ball, intermediate, short. Doesn't have the biggest arm in the draft, but his arm is plenty strong enough to make the big time throws. So I love Bryce Young. He's my #1 quarterback. He's #1 on my big board, and Todd McShay agrees. And that completes Todd McShay's 32-player big board. I believe this is the second posting that he made of this. The original was a few months back. Already some changes. There are going to be more changes from January to April. We're going to see a lot of things can sway, improve, or drop a player's stock between now and the draft in late April. So I'm looking forward to a lot of the different versions of mocks and big boards and whatnot. So I'm going to keep you guys updated with that. I definitely want to get back on the grind and posting a little bit more consistently. Haven't posted in about a week and a half from the time that I'm putting this together now. So I want to get back to that. But I appreciate the support to this point. We're on the road to 1K subscribers. A lot of my videos have definitely exceeded my expectation as far as viewership and support overall. So I deeply thank you guys. I'm going to continue to work on the craft, improve the quality and the content creation and whatnot. But y'all still rocking with me, so I'm going to rock with y'all. So without further ado, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, I deeply appreciate that if you go ahead and do that now.
And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.